welcome back to the lobby. I'm very happy to be joined by the folks from Bossa Studios. Luke and Enrique, how you doing, my friends?
Hey, good.
Hey.
Great to have you on the show, all the way over from London town.
Yes.
Exactly.
You enjoying the weather over here in the west coast of the States?
Yeah,
it was yesterday. Yeah.
I think you only bought t-shirts, didn't you? I think you thought it was warmer
Oh, really?
than it was.
Yeah.
Everyone here is California and goes, it's going to be lovely.
Yeah.
And it was on Sunday, and it's kind of gone down.
Yeah, it's gone back to sort of early.
Not as bad as the rest of America, which
No.
is covered in snow.
Yeah.
I think this is the
Well,
only
well.
part of America that's not covered under like 50 feet of snow. Was it MIT have like a...
The Alps of MIT, where they have like a 3-story
Jesus.
pile of snow outside one of the buildings.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
I wish it was like that.
So for the folks who might not, the word Bossa Studios sort of triggers something in their head, but they don't know who exactly you are. Tell us about some of the games you've made.
So we're probably most known for Surgeon Simulator and I Am Bread at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, and now Worlds Adrift
Yes.
is one of the games that we're working on in parallel to I Am Bread.
Looking forward to talking to you guys about that, especially as it's a little bit different to what some folks are
Yeah.
used to. So like Surgeon Simulator was a game that came out sort of the same way games like Goat Simulator have, where there's like this really interesting initial hook and it like piques people's interest, and then they see videos of the game and realize, oh, there's actually quite a lot to this. How did
Yeah.
the game come about? How did you come up with it?
So that was Global Game Jam 2013. Me and 3 other guys just went along to like a nearby college in London and just kind of decided to go kind of stupid, make ourselves laugh because we were going to be awake for 48 hours.
Right. What was the hook? Because there's usually like a one sentence like hook for a game jam, right? That you have to like have like a...
Yeah. So it's basically like a theme, and the theme of that year's was just the sound of a heartbeat.
Okay.
And we went literal.
Yeah.
About as literal as you could go. And then the result was Surgeon Simulator, yeah. And then it kind of like the Monday after the game jam, like literally like within 24 hours of finishing it, it kind of went all over kind of like YouTube, and there was all this buzz about it, and we had no idea. Like we were taken completely by surprise.
Yeah.
Studio as well, like
Yeah,
we had no idea.
We stopped on our tracks and say, okay, stop everything, guys. Get out of your projects, just get together, and then let's take Surgeon forward. And then, lo and
Yeah.
behold, 48 days later, we released on Steam.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did this 48 hours into 48 days.
Yeah.
and it was a good segue there.
And then now, like a few weeks ago, then we hit 2 million kind of sales on the game.
Surgeon.
On
Yeah.
Surgeon Simulator, yeah.
So when you're doing the game jams, is it mostly just to like flex your muscles as a creative, or do you actually go into those thinking, oh, we might end up coming out with something? Like, was it that surprising?
Yeah, no 2 game jams are the same. We always try new formats and new themes and new
Yeah.
constraints and new freedoms. The only thing we never did was anything goes. Because when we tried that once, or we never did, we did once, right? The first one, it was terrible.
Yeah.
The first 6 game jams or so, we didn't come up
No,
with
mine
some
was
good
alright.
stuff.
My game was quite good. My game was quite good. What are you talking about?
So is that like a little bit of restriction sort of forces you out of your comfort zone?
Yeah,
isn't
it gets your creativity
Well, I
going.
mean, what's good is that we work with other people in the studios. We have different kind of teams, like the Iron Bread team, like the Worlds Adrift team, and stuff like that. And the game jams are great because you start working with different people, and then like you don't really know what's going to come out of it. I mean, Iron Bread was a year and a half after kind of the whole Surgeon stuff.
Yeah.
We had 50 or 60 kind of game ideas in between that time.
Oh, really? That
and
never just made
exactly.
it to that
Yeah,
level.
you kind of you get a good feeling sometimes just from the reaction from other people in the studio and stuff when a kind of game is starting to kind of come together.
So how did Iron Bread end up being the game that you wanted to go with?
It was
As we
just
check
like,
out this hot gameplay of Iron Bread.
So it was a game jam last year, and I found the idea of, like, with Surgeon we had like the one task that we give you, which is like perform a heart transplant, right? Really simple, easy to understand kind of, well, it's not really simple, but it's easy to understand. And with Iron Bread, I like the idea of just a piece of bread who would want to become toast, and that's it. Like, so every level you go into, it's like become toast. And that's something that kind of players can understand and kind of get behind. And then we just messed around with trying to get the controls right. So the actual game jam was just, how do we get that movement? How do you move a bread around a level? Like you can control stick and then just use A to jump, right? But then you're just replacing a character with a piece of bread, and that's not very interesting.
Yeah.
So the whole kind of like 4 corners and flopping it around those, kind of, you know, after the end of the game jam, it kind of worked, and we saw it and we're like, yeah, there's something there. Like, and I think the key thing is it's something that you can get good at. Like Surgeon, everyone who first plays it is awful.
Yeah.
But then you see the speed runs and the world records, and these guys are just dexterous as like it was their real hand, you know.
And like you were saying before, Enrique, it's a game that all of the controls and all of what the player can do is actually doable from the start of the game. It's not like you're leveling up or like giving them new abilities or anything.
No,
so for the
it's
player,
all
it's really
new.
satisfying.
Yeah, it's all on you. You progress as a player, right? And also the other aspect is that you kind of foreshadow what you can do in the game. Oh, maybe if I drop from that ledge or grab that brick and throw into the car windshield, I can get inside the car. And when you realize you can actually do that, it's such a buzz, it's such a good surprise. And I think the controls came out of that as well. It's the surprise of, okay, I can move the bread around like very poorly like this, and all of a sudden you realize you can flip and rotate, and it's such an efficient method to get around.
To understand the weight of the bread and kind of its floppiness, and they can kind of like swing and wrap themselves around like shelves, and then they can climb that way, and it's it's just kind of.
Are you like masters of QWOP? Is that?
I have no idea. I don't know. We just kind of
I tried a few times. Terrible.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, actually, like most developers have to explain to their parents like how weird their job is. Like, I work on this thing, or like for you guys, it's actually quite a lot weirder.
Yeah.
I made a game where you get to control.
Because people always ask
bread.
like, what kind of games do you go? Oh, like Surgeon Simulator and Iron Bread, and they go, what's that? And it's like, oh, you control one hand.
Yeah, presumably when you tell people
up.
you made Surgeon Simulator, they think you're making like medical research software.
Yeah, that's the first reaction. People who don't play games. That, all right, okay, that's very useful. We actually got once. I think it was at Resd or Eurogamer. Someone from NHS stopped by.
No.
Yeah, and they left the card and everything. You won't get in touch.
Well, they were like, oh, do you want any kind of like medical sort of like, advice or like someone like kind
consulting?
Of, consultation. And I'm like, I don't think this is the right game for that.
That's great. I was talking to Armin, one of the guys from Goat Simulator, and they said that they had people reaching out to them as goat experts, saying like, oh, if you want, I can consult with you for a nominal fee on like really interesting things about goats. So apparently it's indicative of all of games.
Yeah, I think it's the moment you attach a simulator to it.
Right.
Well, in some games like Plague Inc., I don't know if you played that one. It's one where you're simulating a plague spreading across the world, and they tied in with the CDC and like to get that kind of be accurate afterward. Like I think the game came out first, and then the CDC reached out and like, here's how we can make this even more of an accurate simulation of this.
Wow, that's kind of dark. It's like the Ebola expansion pack or something.
Oh no, and so you're actually spreading the disease. That's
Yeah, you're not fighting it.
Yeah, it's not a pandemic. Which
your goal is to murder everyone in the world.
It was the CDC who did like how fast the proper zombie apocalypse would spread. They did this exercise, didn't they?
They investigated it in World of Warcraft because way back they had
the virus.
They had a blood plague that someone took from a dungeon and like unleashed it in the capital cities, and everyone was dying. And then it said like CDC were really interested in how it spread, and because it was kind of like the first sort of virtual disease spread that like we've kind of.
It's weird. Games getting into all sorts of interesting areas. You guys, have you ever like been criticized for? There's games out there that are clearly made for like, oh, we're trying to get Twitch and like YouTubers to play these games. You know, let's come up with a zany idea, like something like Meme Run sort of pops into mind, where it's actually not very good game at all. But it's like it's clearly made for just people to play for the sake of it. Air Control is another one that came out last year. Do you guys get that a lot? Any stick for that?
We did get for Bread a little bit. Surgeon not, because Surgeon was one of the big ones who broke
one of the first ones.
To actually like kind of make sales out of that kind of thing, I think, and then people,
Yeah, they set the precedence. But on Iron Bread, we got a little bit of flack saying that, oh, it's all YouTube bait and so on. And it took a while for the first Let's Plays to come out and people realize it's actually gameplay involved.
Yeah.
Because that's how we start. We start from core gameplay, and always. The theme comes afterwards.
Yeah, because you've got like 2 days to make these games. You don't have time to...
No, in 2 days you can barely get something working, right? If you had to throw all these requirements on top, has to be good for YouTube, has to be a zany idea, we end up with nothing.
And presumably that's not the methodology you've taken with Worlds Adrift. Like, how has this game come out of the out of your studio? Is it another game jam situation?
Yeah, it was a game jam, a slightly more ambitious game jam. And again, it's taking that kind of physics thing and something that is a base skill that doesn't change throughout the game, but you can get really good at. And in this instance, it's very much like a Spider-Man-esque like grappling hook. There's not been very many kind of good Spider-Man games.
No, there was
out
one
recently.
really good one on the PlayStation 2.
PlayStation 2, exactly. Yeah, we had a look at that one because that was the one everyone went to and went, that's how you do like swinging mechanics.
Yeah.
So we kind of took a look at that one. It's got like inertia and all that kind of stuff that feels really nice. So we definitely looked at that one, but with this, you can assign basically wherever you attach, and so if you can be swinging through a forest and you can manually attach a rope to every single branch, just because of the way we've. So it takes a while to learn, but you can get like Surgeon Style and Iron Bread. But when you get really good at it, you get really good at it. And we've seen people like fleeing themselves off of their airships and launching onto someone else's, then taking them out that way.
And that's just the starting point, because the whole thing, the whole game is physics-based, thanks to our chaps at Improbable helping us out with the underlying engine. But things like if you attach 4 or 5 people to an engine on a ship, your weight is going to rip it off.
Excellent.
And you can fling yourself because you can actually rotate, you can entangle the grappling
kind
hooks.
of like wraps.
Oh, it wraps around?
Yeah. So if you're like kind of swinging, you hit an object, you'll kind of build up speed, because suddenly it's like whoom, and that's how you kind of can catapult yourself or other things at people.
Or you can grappling hook to a propeller. That is fun as well.
So just end up
Or if you're on a ship, just like harpoon to like one of their engines and just yank it clean off, and then their ship's kind of flying all wonky. And,
So it kind of reminds me a bit of Just Cause multiplayer, when people started getting really fun with that sort of stuff.
And the game itself, it seems much more serious than some of your other games. And I'm sure other people, look at Surgeon as in-depth as those can be, Surgeon Simulator and Iron Breath. They're kind of silly, but it seems like you guys actually learned a lot from those that you're able to bring to this.
Yeah, it's a bigger game for sure, but we have moments of silliness, like, because we're like swinging around and we love our kind of physics and stuff, like, if you swing yourself into a rock or into a tree branch, your character will get knocked out and kind of just dangle there on the rope, so you're kind of left like vulnerable, and that kind of stuff's fun to do. But yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's you kind of gathering a crew if you want, and you all kind of invest yourself in this one ship that you build together.
And you build the ships as well.
Yeah,
right?
you build the ships, then you can basically you fly off to the different kind of, there's islands. It's kind of Wind Waker skies of Arcadia inspired, and you see those silhouettes in the distance, you're like, I want to go there. And then you can kind of traverse through kind of weathers and storms, and obviously you can run into other players who may attack or may not attack you and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of emergent gameplay as well, which is a hallmark of both Brad and Surgeon, in which we have no idea how the players are going to interact and create the rules, how they're going to board another ship, what tactics they will come up with to destroy their engines and take over their ships, etc. That's what we hope for. It's people using the game that we created to make stuff that we could not imagine that could be done.
There's like in the latest playtest where you're on a ship kind of firing at another one, and one of the players from that ship was like, I've got to take out him, so he swung onto the ship without him realizing, grabbed another cannon on the deck, and then just clean just shot at his cannon. And him and the cannon went flying off, because you're kind of attached to these little like seated sort of turrets, and him and the cannon just went flying off the edge of the ship, and then that was it, like you'd taken out the threat or whatever.
Yeah, and as I fell to my horrible death, I could see the 3 ships firing at each other.
But I said, like, we had no idea you could really do that.
Yeah, we didn't program. We never knew that it could be done.
Yeah, we knew the ships would obviously, like, kind of bits would detach, but when someone went and just grabbed another turret on the same ship and went boom and just fired it at the deck.
Is that like an important thing for you guys in terms of like, you've always been very good at getting your games out to people. So like with Surgeon, when Surgeon came out, you actually added loads of stuff to it, presumably based on some feedback you got from the community. And Iron Bread is the same situation. You've still got a team working on it right now.
Yeah.
Have you taken like that similar methodology with Worlds Adrift? Because I remember the first trailer you put out was very much a like, let us know what you think, come play it, and should this be an idea that we go with? So are you listening to the community?
So
how much do you listen to the community?
We have to listen far more. Well, everything that went, a lot of the stuff that went in Surgeon and a lot of the stuff that going into Bread right now comes from the community. They ask for, let's put the baguette in, and let's put the free roaming mode.
Kind of stuff,
they ask it a lot for that. But they are smaller games. We can see the beginning of the game and visualize it and say, it's a good game. You put a video out, people get interested, and we carry on development and early access or whatever. But with Worlds Adrift is different because such a huge enterprise. So we have to do that from the beginning. And it's already paying off. I think that was the 3rd video we put out. We focus on a little bit on gathering resources and crafting. It's not the core of the game at all, but it was an aspect of the game that we just finished doing, so we showed off. And people didn't enjoy it as much as the rest of the game.
Well, I think people, they've just been like, oh no, it's just another survival game.
Easy to get reductive
and we have
that way.
none of the like taking care of your character and like feeding them. We're not interested in that. It's like kind of preserving your airship in a way and making sure you can kind of keep on flying.
But that informed us to say, okay, we need crafting and we need gathering, but this is enough. Now we move on to other stuff, which is more interesting and so on. So measuring those reactions from people, it's not like they are telling us what to do, but they are guiding our hand in which area we focus on. It's so much better to do it that way than release a game and realize that we did so many mistakes along the way.
Once it's out, then it's almost too late to sort of
exactly.
Address those issues. So for folks who are watching now who want to get in and play it as early as possible, I know you've got like a sign up on your website. Like, how can they get in and actually?
Kind of like worldsofdrift.com. We have you can just email sign up or whatever. We'll just keep your tabs on now. We have like kind of blog posts every week. And we're kind of releasing new information and stuff. And then eventually, when we do get to kind of some closed betas and stuff, we'll kind of send out a few invites and kind of get people into there.
Yeah, it's not very far. We like to do things as early as possible, so we feed up on this whole thing. That let's get the feedback.
So, any idea when we'll get a closed beta or open beta at some stage?
No,
maybe this year?
Yeah, definitely
this year.
Yeah. Probably the first half of the year. Yeah.
Do you think you would ever combine the world so that as you're going through Worlds Adrift, you would see like a little piece of, like go into a kitchen, like, oh, there's a piece of toast moving?
I'll be incredibly annoyed if there isn't any kind of surgeon or bread references in the game at some point.
You're going to create like the Bossa universe, where everything's tied in together, including like your old Facebook games that all exist in there as well.
Those are very, very early ones.
Excellent. Lads, thank you very much, Luke.
Yeah, good to have you.
Very pleasure. Thank you so much for coming in. Best of luck. We look forward to seeing more of Worlds Adrift throughout the rest of 2015.
Yeah,
thank you.
Awesome.